biggest profits I ever made didn't come from brilliance, predictions, or secret indicators. They came from following a handful of simple rules. So simple, most traders ignore them. And that's why they lose. Before we begin, what would you have done if you were handed a set of rules that could make or break your entire trading life? Comment your thoughts below. I want to take you on a journey. Today's journey that starts not in some quiet trading room or a modern digital platform, but deep inside the mindset of Jesse Livermore, the man Wall Street once called the boy plunger, and later the world's greatest trader. But before the legends, before the fame, before the collapses and the comebacks, Livermore was just another young man standing on the edge of uncertainty, staring at numbers on a chalkboard, trying to understand the rhythm of a market that didn't care about his hopes or fears. And if we're honest, every trader today stands in that exact same spot. I've always believed that the markets are less about charts and more about character, less about strategy and more about self-discipline, less about opportunity and more about preparation. But it took me years to understand this truth, and it took Jesse Livermore an entire lifetime to prove it. So today, as we dive deep into Jesse Livermore, big profits from simple rules, I want you to imagine something. Imagine that every loss you've ever taken, every emotional trade you've ever made, every time you hesitated when you should have, acted when you should have, waited. Imagine that all of those painful moments weren't mistakes, but messages, signals, lessons, warnings from the market itself. Because this, right here, is where Livermore's journey begins. He used to say, "The market is never wrong. Opinions often are." That one line carries enough weight to fill an entire book, but the truth behind it is even deeper. See, Livermore understood something that most traders today refuse to accept. The market doesn't punish wrong predictions. The market punishes broken rules. And those rules, those simple, brutally honest rules, the reason he made fortunes that shook Wall Street to its core, they're also the reason he lost it all when he broke them. I can almost hear Livermore's voice echoing even now, a calm, almost distant reminder. Your job is not to outsmart the market. Your job is to align with it. And that's where this story begins. Not with charts, not with strategies, not with complicated mathematical models, but with a man who learned, often painfully, that the market rewards discipline far more than intelligence. Let me ask you something personal, and think carefully, because this question defines the entire path of a trader. Are you following a system, or are you following your emotions? Most traders will lie to themselves long before they lie to anyone else. They tell themselves they're disciplined until fear arrives. They tell themselves they're patient until FOMO whispers. They tell themselves they're logical until the red candles start bleeding. Livermore confessed that he was no different. In the beginning, he thought he had the markets figured out. He believed he could predict what would happen next. But a handful of painful losses taught him something crucial. You don't make big profits by being right. You make big profits by staying right. And staying right requires rules. Simple rules, followed without exception. That was his awakening. And strangely enough, it becomes every trader's awakening, though most realize it too late. I want you to picture this moment. Livermore sits in a cramped bucket shop, barely 16 years old. Numbers flicker. Prices jump. Every movement is a story. Every tick is a heartbeat. But he isn't guessing. He isn't hoping. He isn't gambling. He's observing, studying, recording the patterns that repeat. He doesn't have indicators, or backtesting software, or algorithmic models. He has only one advantage: an unwavering commitment to understanding the truth of the market, not the fantasy of it. And that's what separated Livermore from the thousands of traders who came and went like shadows across Wall Street. He wasn't better than them. He was more honest than them. He respected the market more than them. And he followed simple rules the others ignored, because simplicity never feels exciting until it makes you a fortune. By the end of this documentary-style journey, you and I will break down those rules, one by one. We'll dissect how he applied them, how he broke them, how they built him, and how they destroyed him. Because Livermore's entire trading life was proof of one terrifying truth. You don't blow up because the market turns against you. You blow up because you turn against your own rules. And that lesson, that brutally honest gut punch lesson, will lead us directly into Section 2, the cinematic conclusion of this story. But before we move ahead, in the end, every trader discovers the same truth. The market never destroys you. You destroy yourself by breaking the rules you promised to follow. Before I close this journey, let me ask you one more time. What rule have you broken the most in your trading life? Comment below. Curious to see how many of us share the same scars. As I bring this documentary to its close, I want you to imagine something cinematic, something powerful. Picture Jesse Livermore standing alone on a quiet New York street after the markets have closed. The sidewalks are empty. The neon signs buzz faintly overhead. The echoes of the trading floor are gone. And there he is, the man who conquered Wall Street more times than anyone thought possible, staring at the pavement as if reading a chart drawn by fate itself. Not in triumph, not in defeat, but in reflection, because Livermore understood something profound. Something so deep that most traders never even discover it, let alone master it. Trading isn't about making money. It's about surviving your own weaknesses long enough to make money. Throughout his life, Livermore battled himself more than he battled the market. And if you've traded long enough, you know exactly what I mean. The hesitation before clicking buy, the rush of adrenaline when a position suddenly goes green, the cold knot in your stomach when it goes red, the way you justify breaking a rule just this once, the way you promise yourself you'll be smarter tomorrow. These moments aren't market moments, they're human moments. And this is where Livermore's legacy becomes bigger than charts, bigger than tickers, and bigger than money. He once said, "It was never my thinking that made the big money. It was always my sitting, waiting, following the plan, obeying the rules, long after the excitement fades." That's the essence of Livermore's philosophy. As the story of his life closes like the final page of a weathered trading journal, one truth becomes inescapable. His greatest victories came from respecting simple rules. His greatest tragedies came from breaking them. This is the paradox every trader must face. When he followed his rules, cutting losses fast, adding only to winning trades. Sitting tight in a trend, he made fortunes so large they rattled the financial world. When he ignored them, he lost everything and more. Not because the rules were wrong, but because he was human. And that, strangely enough, is what makes Livermore's story so timeless, more relevant today than ever. We're trading faster markets, with more screens, more noise, more data, more distractions. But the human weaknesses inside us haven't evolved at all. We're still emotional. We're still impatient. We still want quick wins. We still want to be right, more than we want to be profitable. Livermore lived inside these contradictions every day. And so do we. So if you take anything away from this entire journey, let it be this. Your trading success will be determined not by complexity, but by obedience to a handful of simple rules you don't break. Just like Livermore, you don't need 50 strategies. You don't need infinite indicators. You don't need perfect predictions. You need rules so clear, so simple, so honest, that you cannot rationalize your way around them. Rules like: cut every loss quickly. Never average down in a losing position. Wait for confirmation before entering. Only add 2 trades that are already working. Sit tight when you are right, not when you are wrong. Protect your capital like your life depends on it. Never trade because you're bored, fearful, angry, or overconfident. Simple rules. Rules every trader has heard. Rules most traders break. But rules that, if followed with humility and steel discipline, can turn an ordinary trader into something extraordinary. Before I close this out, I want to leave you with one final image. One last cinematic moment. Imagine Livermore sitting at his desk, long after the crowds have forgotten him. The ticker tape is silent. The lamps cast golden shadows across piles of handwritten notes. His pen moves slowly across the page as he writes the last line of his personal trading philosophy. A man must believe in himself and his judgment, if he expects to make a living at this game. Not ego, not arrogance, not blind confidence, but a belief built from discipline, a belief built from consistency, a belief built from obeying simple rules every single day, especially when it's hardest. That is the truth. Jesse Livermore died with, and the truth he left for every trader who would come after him, including you, including me. Comment, Hook, which Livermore rule do you think would make the biggest difference in your trading if you actually followed it consistently? Let me know in the comments. Motionos, thank you for walking through this journey with me, for stepping into the mind of a man who shaped the very foundations of market psychology. As you return to your charts, your trades, and your own rules, remember this. Simple rules aren't simple because they're easy. They're simple because they're essential. Trade well, trade disciplined, and trade like Livermore.